All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to now get into talking about the other game from last night between the Tennessee Titans and the Miami Dolphins. So let's get into it. So the Titans were coming in at 0-3. Dolphins were 1-2. Tua, of course, placed on IR. Last week they had Skylar Thompson start. Got hurt in that game. They had to put in Tim Boyle. And they did activate Tyler Huntley and named him the starter for this game last night. And I thought that was the right call because I think of the quarterbacks that they had at their disposal without Tua, I thought he was the best option. Now, having said that, I still believe that, but didn't really help my case last night the way he played. And this game was very interesting because the first two possessions of the game for both teams were turnovers. So the Titans got the ball to start the game. And if you remember, last year, the Titans, they pulled off a comeback win against the Dolphins. And that was with Tua. Tyreek Hill got hurt in that game, but that was with Tua. Will Levis, led the way. And they got the win. So, first drive of the game, Titans are driving. And Will Levis throws an interception to Emmanuel Ogbah. And when you read his lips on the sideline, he says that he didn't even see him. So already Will Levis turns the ball over, first possession of the game. Yeah, he just continues not to play well for the Titans. Then the Dolphins get the ball, and they fumble. Tyler Huntley fumbles. And that's recovered by the Titans. So then it's 3rd and 4 from the Titans' 42. And it looked like Will Levis picked up the first down, but for some reason the Titans didn't review it, so they ended up punting. And Will Levis actually ended up getting hurt and did not play for the remainder of the game. Ended up injuring his shoulder, did not play for the remainder of the game. And Mason Rudolph ended up taking over. And I thought, okay, maybe with Mason Rudolph, when he took over for the Steelers last year, the offense, got it going, and they rode that into the playoffs. So I thought, okay, Mason Rudolph comes in, maybe, that'll help out this offense. And it did, just not the passing game. It was the running game. Titans just ran the ball basically the entire game, the entire rest of the game. The Dolphins then punted on their next drive. Titans then put together a field goal drive. Nick Folk, he was busy last night. 53-yard field goal to make it 3-0. Titans. Dolphins turned it over on downs. The Titans turned that into another field goal drive. They made it 6-0, and that was a 52-yarder from Nick Folk. Then Jason Sanders, he kicked a 44-yard field goal to make it 6-3, and the teams just exchanged punts. And then Titans got the ball back. Mason Rudolph hit Tyler Boyd for 27 yards, down to the Dolphins' 29. They were able to spike the ball with around 2 seconds left, and Nick Folk kicked another field goal. So it was 9-3 at the half. More punts in this game. Dolphins put together a drive that resulted in a Jason Sanders 56-yard field goal to make it 9-6. However, the Titans put together a touchdown drive that was set up by a 41-yard run by Tony Pollard. And then it was a direct snap to Tajay Spears for a 7-yard touchdown. Well, it was like a trick play. Like you had both running backs. They had Mason Rudolph off to the side. Spears did a fake handoff to Pollard that ended up going for a touchdown. Spears took it right up the middle, and it was 16-6 at that point. Dolphins punted another field goal drive for the Titans. Dolphins just could not stop the run. But yeah, this resulted in a Nick Folk 51-yard field goal that made it 19-6. Dolphins turned it over on downs. Another field goal to make it 22-6. Later in the game, this was a 29-yarder. Dolphins actually put together a touchdown drive. 11 plays, 70 yards, 7 minutes of time possession. Tyler Huntley, a rushing touchdown from 1 yard out. So that made it 22-12. Titans punted, then the Dolphins ended up getting a safety, intentional grounding in the end zone. And then the Titans scored a touchdown. Tony Pollard from 4 yards out on 4th and goal. And that was really all she wrote. Mason Rudolph went 9 of 17 for 85 yards. Will Levis, before he got hurt, 3 for 4, 25 yards. No touchdowns, 1 interception. Titans ran the ball 40 times for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard had 88 yards on the ground in the touchdown. Tajay Spears had 39 in the touchdown. Tyler Boyd and DeAndre Hopkins both had 2 receptions for 31 yards. Tony Pollard had 2 for 20. Treylon Burks, 1 for 13. Calvin Ridley, only 1 for 5. Also did run the ball as well. 1 carry for 10 yards. The Titans defense only had 2 sacks, but they did make Tyler Huntley's life difficult. He went 14 of 22 for 96 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Was their leading rusher with 40 yards. Jalen Waddle was the leading receiver. 4 receptions for 36 yards. Tyreek Hill only had 4 for 23. And the Dolphins defense had 1 sack in the game. And, they had their opportunities. Huntley threw a deep pass down the field that was just out of the reach of Tyreek Hill. That could have been a touchdown. But, yeah, the Dolphins fall to 1-3. Titans pick up their first win of the season. So, before we get into the Dolphins side of things, or both teams' side of things, I just wanted to bring up my fantasy matchup. So, going into the game, I was down by around 10 points. So I just needed Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins to, each maybe get 5, and that was it. And they didn't do that. They did not do that, because once Will Levis got hurt, and as the game progressed and, the Dolphins' offense was not doing anything, the Titans just said, all right, we're just going to run the ball with Tony Pollard and try to stop it. And the Dolphins could not stop the run. And I ended up losing my matchup to fall to 1-3. And that would have been a big win, because I was going up against a team that's a title contender in our Dynasty League. And I'm trying to at least get into the playoffs. So that would have been a huge win for me, but they did not come through. Will Levis' injury really changed everything. Because once they took him out, because I think that was the other thing too. It's like Mason Rudolph, is the backup, and, I think is still getting used to his new team in this role. So they kind of just were like, all right, we're just going to make things easier. Just hand off the ball. And that's what he did. And the Titans got the win. So I ended up losing my matchup. I went 0-5 in fantasy this week. It was not a good week for me. Not a good week. But for both teams, give the Titans credit. They kept the Dolphins in check. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle really didn't make any plays in this game. Tyler Huntley was not good. And they got the win. And then for the Dolphins, it's just, I still think Tyler Huntley is the best option out of the quarterbacks that they have, but they missed Tua. And Mike McDaniel is getting criticized. Maybe I said he was a good coach going into the year, but I do have my questions now. Now that he's, now that we're, a quarter of the way through the season, because the Dolphins just, even when Tua was healthy, like before he got hurt, they should have lost to Jacksonville, and Tua threw 3 picks before he got hurt against the Bills. So the Dolphins Tua was not playing well either. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Well, now that Tua's out, Tua would definitely have played better these last couple of weeks. He would have kept the Dolphins in these games that they've lost. But, I think it's more than just a quarterback issue. I think Mike McDaniel might be, I guess he's not as good as I thought he was. Now, I know the Dolphins have collapsed in the playoffs the last couple of years, or collapsed late in the season these last couple of years, and then, you go into the playoffs and you lose those games, but I still thought he was a good coach. Might not be the case. Yeah, they're in a weird spot right now, and this season is quickly slipping away from them. And honestly, Will Levis stays in that game. He probably turns the ball over another couple times, which would have benefited them. But yeah, once he got taken out, they were like, all right, the Titans are like, we're just going to run the ball. Kind of like what I would do in NCAA or in Madden, just run the ball, keep the the opposing offense off the field, drain a lot of clock to get the win. And the Dolphins just couldn't stop it. They could not stop the run. You know it's coming, and the Dolphins just could not stop it. It's kind of like what happened with the Packers in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers, where Raheem Mostert had over 200 yards rushing, and the Packers they knew it was coming. They just couldn't stop it. That was literally what happened last night. Now, it's not like the running backs on the Titans had over 200 yards rushing. No. But that's all they did. Because they were like, well, our defense is playing well. Why are we going to put the ball in the air and put it in harm's way? Because if Mason Rudolph throws a pick in their own territory, Dolphins can cash in and score. But that never happened. So, yeah, Titans get their first win. They're on a bye. The Dolphins, they take on the Patriots in Foxborough next week. And I got to tell you, I have no idea who to pick in that game. No idea. But I might lean towards the home team. So, but yeah, this season for the Dolphins is quickly spiraling out of control. You can see Tyreek Hill is really upset on the sidelines. Not looking good. And I saw a TikTok, and for the SpongeBob fans out there, it's Tyreek Hill without a quarterback, Mahomes without his top receiver, and it's the episode where Mr. Krabs bets SpongeBob's contract and ends up losing it to Plankton. I think what was it? It was either in poker or just in cards, whatever. Well, that's what it is. In poker, whatever. And and then there's that song in the middle of the episode of them singing. So that I thought that was funny. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about, because otherwise that's embarrassing. But anyways, Tyreek Hill needs a quarterback, and Mahomes needs a receiver. So maybe the Dolphins trade him back. No, we'll see. But maybe Amari Cooper gets traded to the Chiefs. It's possible there, but that's something we'll talk about at a later time. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, though, about this game between the Titans and the Dolphins. It was not very entertaining, and then on top of that, the one fantasy matchup that I thought I was going to win, but I did say I had just as good of a chance to lose it as I did to win it, and of course I ended up losing to go 0-5 in fantasy this week. It was rough, but I did get 8 wins in the spread pool, so that was good. So at least we're moving in the right direction there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this game. What were your takeaways from it? Let me know in the comments. So with that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows on the network. We greatly appreciate it. And until next time, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.